Hey everybody, it's Miss Roberts again, and I'm here to help you remember how to do Punnett squares. So you may have done some Punnett squares in middle school, or maybe you forgot, or maybe you didn't do them at all, so I'm going to help you remember. First off, you've probably talked about in your classes some vocabulary words. Homozygous and heterozygous, dominant and recessive. So go back into your notes and review these 4 words. If you don't know what these are, if you don't have them locked into your memory, this next step that we're about to do is going to be kind of a challenge for you. All right, let's start off with our basic Punnett square here. So I like to call this up, down, left, right. And as you start to do this, you're gonna abandon this pretty quickly, or maybe you already know this, so you don't have to do it in this method. It works in several ways. Now you can do this in any order that you want. It really does not matter if you want to start down in this box or this box, it has no difference. So you're gonna start here at the top, you're gonna take up, down. So any ones up at the top here, you're going to put down here. So I'm going to take this A, and I'm going to move it down. I'm going to take this A, and I'm going to move it down. So that's up, down, and then I'm going to take left, right. So here's my A, and I'm going to move it all the way to the right. Same with this one. My pen's kind of running out. Okay. Now, when you're seeing this one, these two are usually flipped. This is technically a correct answer. But if you're seeing this on like a test or a quiz, that's something in Schoology, you'll probably see that the large A is going to go first. And that's totally normal. So this is the same thing as if it was capital A, lowercase a, or lowercase a, capital A. It's the same thing. And again, we just did the exact same thing. As you're doing this, you're probably going to abandon this up, down, left, right method, and you're just going to start doing them all at the same time. And that's okay too. If you have your own method for doing it, that is the method that works for you. So this is your basic Punnett square. Now that you're in high school, we're going to add a little bit more of a challenge to this. You've got kind of a word problem type structure here. So in our word problem today, it says, red squirrels are dominant and gray are recessive. So we're going to cross 2 heterozygous squirrels. Remember I said earlier, make sure you know what heterozygous, homozygous, dominant, and recessive. Make sure you know what those look like, otherwise this is going to be kind of a challenge. So we've got 2 heterozygous squirrels. Remember that hetero means different. So first off, we have to look at dominant, because dominant is the one that's going to give us the letter. So red squirrels are dominant. So we're going to be using an R for this, because red is dominant. Dominant always names it after itself. So we have 2 heterozygous. Heterozygous means that we have 2 different size letters. So we've got a capital R and a lowercase r. And we've got 2 of them. Okay, so now I'm just going to plug this in to my Punnett square. Okay, I'm going to do it just the same way that I did before. Up, down. And then left, right. Okay, and again, this one here is the same as this one. It's just flipped around. And if you see this on a test, it's probably going to be written like this. So just be aware of that if you write yours like this. So let's look at our results. We have 1, 2, 3 of our boxes have these uppercase letters. So these are going to be our dominant ones. Remember, this one's dominant, it's homozygous dominant because it has both of them as uppercase letters. These are heterozygous dominant, even though they have a little smaller letter. Even though this little smaller letter is first, this one and this one are still dominant. We're only going to have 1 gray squirrel, and that's going to be this one right here. So this would be 3 dominant and 1 recessive. So we would have 75% would be dominant, and 25% would be recessive. Okay, let's do some more together. All right, next one. Talkative students are dominant to quiet ones. Very true. Cross a heterozygous student with a homozygous dominant. So again, we have to figure out which letter we're going to do, so we got to figure out which one's dominant. Talkative students are dominant, so we're going to use a T. So we have a heterozygous student. Heterozygous means that it's different. So we're going to have a capital T and a lowercase t. We're going to cross this with a student that's homozygous dominant. Homozygous means it's the same. Dominant means that we have uppercase letters. Okay, so this is what we're going to have. Now, when you're building our Punnett square, you can choose to put these in order that you want. You could put the capital T's at the top, or you could put the capital T and lowercase t at the top. It really doesn't matter. They'll be in different orders, but you're still going to get the same results. So capital T, lowercase t, there's that one. And this one, I'm going to decide to put it over here on the left. Okay, then we finish our Punnett square, up, down, and then left, right. Okay, so in this case, we're going to have 100% of our students are going to be talkative. We have 2 of them that are heterozygous, so they'll be carriers of the trait for quiet, but 2 of them will be homozygous dominant. Let's do some more. We'll do one more together. Orangitis. You can tell I was probably running out of ideas by now. Orangitis causes people to die when they eat oranges. A healthy homozygous dominant person is crossed with a person with orangitis. So we got to figure out our dominant again. It really doesn't tell us which one is our dominant, so we're going to have to kind of figure this out here. It says that it causes people to die when they eat oranges, a healthy homozygous dominant person. So this person is healthy, and it says they're dominant. So that probably means that orangitis is going to be something that's going to be recessive. So healthy then is going to be our dominant trait. So we're going to use some H's. So healthy homozygous dominant person. So that's going to be, I'll write it over here. That's going to be capital H, because homozygous is the same. We're going to cross it with somebody that has orangitis. Since healthy is dominant, the only way that they can have this disease would be to have 2 recessive traits. So again, we're going to fill this into our Punnett square. And again, it doesn't matter where you put these. If you want the capital H's to be on the top, or if you want them to be on the side, it doesn't matter. Okay, so there's those. I'm going to put these 2 on the top. Okay, and then I'm going to fill this in. And again, you can still use my up, down, left, right method, or if you feel like it, you can just start combining them yourself. It's really up to you. So, oops, I already did that one. All right, so in this case, luckily we're going to have 100% of our people here are not going to have this disease, so they can have all the oranges that they want. But every single one of them is going to be a carrier for this. So they do have the possibility of passing this on to their offspring. And if their offspring marries somebody else that also has a lowercase h, it's possible that they could have a child that does have orangitis. But they wouldn't even probably know that they're still carrying this. Okay, so on your notebook or on a sheet of paper that you have, some scrap paper, let's have you do some of them and then see how you do, and you can come back and check your answer. All right, so number 1, yellow fish are recessive to green fish. Cross a heterozygous dominant fish with a recessive fish. So on your scrap paper, go ahead and write this out, figure out what your cross is going to be, do your Punnett square, pause the video now, and then come back and check it, see if your answer is right.
1.
Hey, welcome back. So yellow fish are recessive to green fish. It doesn't tell us which one's dominant, so we have to do some thinking on this. Since yellow fish are recessive, then it would make sense that green fish would be dominant. We just kind of have to fill in that detail. So since green fish are dominant, we're just going to be using a G. We're going to cross a heterozygous dominant. So heterozygous means that they're different, and it's dominant, so it's got 1 uppercase letter. And we're going to cross that with a recessive fish. Remember, recessive is yellow, and to make recessive, we have to have lowercase letters. So then I filled in our Punnett square, and I filled it in down here. So we're going to have 50% of our offspring are going to be green, 50% of our offspring are going to be yellow. Okay, let's do some more together and see how you do. All right, next up, number 2. A heterozygous green plant is crossed with another heterozygous plant. So again, pause this video right here, and on your scratch notes there, go ahead and fill this out, figure out what your cross is going to be, then do your Punnett square. Pause the video now, and then come back and see what your answer is.
1.
Hey, welcome back. So a heterozygous green plant is crossed with another heterozygous plant. So here's our cross. Heterozygous means that they're different, and so we plug this in, and we're going to have 75% of our plants, our offspring plants, are going to be this green color, and 25% is going to be, well, they don't tell us what the other color is, so we'll just say they're blue. So let's do one more together. I think you're probably by now catching on. So let's see how you do for one more. All right, number 3. Cute rabbits are dominant to ugly rabbits. Cross a heterozygous cute rabbit with an ugly rabbit. So again, figure out what your cross is going to be, put it into your Punnett square, pause the video here, and when you come back, you can check your answer.
1.
All right, welcome back. So cute rabbits are dominant to ugly rabbits, so we're going to be using a C on this one. Cross a heterozygous cute rabbit with an ugly rabbit. So heterozygous, again, is going to be different. So we have our 1 capital and our 1 lowercase. Remember, you've probably kind of picked up now that heterozygous is always going to be dominant. Heterozygous is always a carrier. And cute rabbits with an ugly rabbit. The only way that we can make an ugly rabbit is to make them recessive, so we have 2 lowercase letters here. Be careful when you're doing your Punnett squares that you make sure that your letters are clearly indicated which one is which. You can be kind of extravagant with it and make your C's really, really tiny and the other C is really big. That way you're not confused. Is that uppercase, is it dominant, or is it recessive? So in this case, we're going to have 50% of our offspring be cute and 50% of our offspring are going to be ugly. So hopefully this helped you remember some stuff from Punnett squares. Hopefully it was kind of a good challenge for you. Remember that you need to know those homozygous, heterozygous, dominant, and recessive words, and that's really going to set you up for this. So if you need any help, rewind this again, go through them and practice, see if you can remember, if you need to come back the next day and review this over again. And you're probably going to have some practice that your teacher's going to have you do too. So hopefully this helped. This is Ms. Robert. Thank you.